remain in Toronto, which by some people's estimation will change how we view trading players who don't want to go to a specific location. And Paul George last year, Kawhi Leonard this year, if they both stay at a place that they previously said they had no interest in staying, what does it say about Los Angeles, where both players grew up? And what does it say about trading a guy to a place he says, thanks, but no thanks, I don't even want to go there, it's just a way station? If he chooses the Clippers, I mean, we could be in an era where Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving choose the 7th most popular professional sports franchise in the tri-state area. That's what they did. The Nets are the 7th most popular professional sports franchise in the tri-state area. Behind the Yankees, the Mets, the Giants, the Jets. Yes, of course, behind the Knicks and behind the New York Rangers. And the same could be said for the Clippers. Like, the Clippers are lovable, likable. They've built a good culture. But if Kawhi Leonard chooses the Clippers over the 16 banners in the same arena that the Clippers occupy, it's Staples. That is, they are at best the 7th most popular sports franchise, counting USC football, right? Dodger baseball, the Lakers, the Rams. I would even put the Chargers. All right, maybe not the Chargers. Chargers are better, just not as beloved. But the point is this. There are 3 very interesting choices, and none of them look or feel really alike. Of course, the Lakers would be aligning yourself with 2 fellow superstars with almost no real culture of winning. Been the losingest franchise in the NBA over the last 6 years. Like, that is stunning. It goes counter to what you think of when you think of the Lakers. But that's the decision that Kawhi has. I grew up in Southern California. Twice in my life, I made the professional decision to move back home. Now, I was not making the $30+ million that Kawhi will make. So different tax bracket, different lifestyle, different proximity to where I'm going to work, different profession altogether. But I can tell you that everyone does this thing. Why don't you put a pro and a con list together? You do the pros, you do the cons. I actually think that's a highly flawed process. Because pros and cons, it makes every pro and every con seem like they're actually equal. And they are not. Like, taxes that you're going to pay. They're high in California. They're higher, actually, in Canada. But that's not really what leads to happiness and enjoying yourself. I don't know how affected he is by weather. Right? Like, my wife does not like cold weather. Does not. But we chose to live in Southern California, and we live in one of the beach communities where, you know what? It actually doesn't get hot, and she kind of doesn't like it as much because she's like, man, when's it going to get hot? Like, I don't know, people like to live here because the sea breeze, and it never gets hot. Well, that's not what I wanted. Whereas some people like the cool air. Depends on where you live. Not every pro, not every con equals out to each other. And so let's just say it as we know it and as it's real. I'm Doug Gottlieb filling in for Colin Cowherd. It's a mistake to go to the Lakers. It's a colossal mistake. And it doesn't mean that if you went to the Lakers, they wouldn't win a championship. It doesn't mean if you went to the Lakers, it wouldn't help his brand tying to one of the most powerful brands in sports. It doesn't mean I'm cheering against the Lakers or cheering for any other team. I'm just telling you that sports people, basketball people, adults will tell you it's a mistake. Unless there is something pulling you home. Like the first time that I moved home, my dad had his first bout with cancer. And in hindsight, even though it was probably a mistake professionally to move home, I look back in hindsight and I had 2 years with him that I will never get back. If that's what's pulling him home, I'd back off. But in terms of playing basketball, when has it ever been fun to go and like, let's just go get the 3 best players? It's not fun. That's not what you look for. If the idea is I want to win, then you can win. It was just proven. Granted, a lot of things had to go in their favor. Like, to people who think that the Toronto model is the model for the future, like, look, yeah, I guess it is if you can promise that the better team on the other side of the bracket is going to lose half of their roster due to injury, sure. But the point is this. You know you're going to win. They've established a culture of winning over the past half decade that you help put them over the top. You know how they're going to treat you. You know how much time you're going to get off. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you can still have your off-season life in Los Angeles while you have kind of your professional life in Toronto. Heck, I'd make the case that the Clippers are the better fit. You can still get Southern California. You still get a quality culture of winning and of guys that are playing together and playing the right way, and you get to have the ball. If you think that it's going to work out with LeBron James, you might be right. Proof is in the pudding. He did go to 8 finals in a row. But how enjoyable an experience was it really for Chris Bosh to be the third wheel? Or for Dwayne Wade to be the second wheel? Or for Kyrie Irving, who could not wait to get out from the shadow of LeBron James? If you're chasing brand recognition because you're not getting it in San Antonio or in Toronto, maybe you should tell your uncle, hey, dude, I don't talk. I don't speak. It's kind of hard to be a spokesperson when you don't spoke, right? Maybe you have a New Balance deal because it's just kind of hard to pitch a product and a guy that doesn't really sell any product because he doesn't want to sell himself. His sale is, I'm the best player. You figure out the rest. I'm not Canadian. I'm very realistic with the fact that as much as they love basketball, they're going to always love hockey more. I get it's a foreign country. I get it's not a place that he chose. But I can tell you that moving back home to move back home is the most cliche thing ever. And, oh, yeah, by the way, there's a reason that there's another cliche statement. You can't go home again. You come back home, you're like, man, I'm going to reconnect with people. If you weren't connected with people since you left, there's probably a reason. And it's not distance. It's definitely not expense. If he was a guy that was so connected and wanted to be interwoven in the community that he grew up in, well, then he would be connected and interwoven in the community he grew up in. He would be on Facebook on the MLK High School reunion page. That's what he would do. I'm not telling you that Southern California isn't a great place, and I can't imagine what it would be like to be worth $100 million. You can live where you hear shh, shh, shh every morning. And you can kind of melt into a community where, yeah, you're a star, but you ain't the biggest star. The idea that people are going to track him down and TMZ him, not really. But from a professional basketball perspective, you never want to be a part of that circus. There is no established culture. You have no idea about how the coach will coach your team, let alone your other stars or you. You've already been shown by Toronto. They give you the time off. They'll put the team around you. And if it's not working at the trade deadline, they'll go out and make some profound moves. Isn't it enough? I don't know what Kawhi Leonard will do. I don't know. I'm just as interested as all of you are. I have the people I know in the NBA, and everyone feels confident in something LA, something Toronto. He's going to stay. He's going to go. I've heard clubs are planning celebrations in Toronto. I've heard very smart people say, no, done deal, going to LA. I don't know. And it doesn't actually affect me either way. The league probably wants him in LA, but the league doesn't have a say in this matter. They just don't. But the idea of lining up 3 guys who all need the basketball, who all play some form of the same position at different times in their careers, and putting them together on one team when you're already on a championship team, like, what are we doing? How do we get to a place in sports where you would ever leave a championship team that gave you 22 nights off in the regular season, built everything around you, celebrated your presence, and then would do anything for you to stay? What are you searching for? What do you need? Everything you have is right there. And if home is what brings you there, isn't it pretty obvious the better fit is the Clippers? Don't know what he can do, know what he shouldn't do. He shouldn't go to the Lakers.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.